Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. Welcome to this Co-Publication Integrity Week 2025 session, co-organized with the Society of China University Journals, focusing on commercializing research integrity as an emerging global challenge. My name is Jiayi Xu, Director of Publishing Strategy at Bellevue Publishing and a co-council member. And I have the pleasure of serving as the moderator for today's session. We've joined by three distinguished speakers, Professor Tieming Zhang, Professor Liying, and Dr. Oransky. Before we move into the discussion, I would like to invite them to offer brief self-introductions. Due to the schedule conflicts, Evan's contribution will be presented by pre-recorded videos.
I'm Ivan Oransky. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Scientific Integrity, which is the parent nonprofit organization of Retraction Watch Database, the Medical Evidence Project, the Sluicen Residence Project, the Elizabeth Bick Science Fund, Science Integrity Fund, and the Hijacked Journal Checker. I'm also a professor at New York University, where I teach medical journalism. And I am editor-in-chief of The Transmitter, an editorially independent publication focusing on neuroscience at the Simons Foundation.
Next, please, Tieming. Please, Dr. Tieming.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tieming Zhang. I am the editor-in-chief of Journal Publishing Center, Beijing Forestry University. I also the president of Society of China University Journals, vice president of China Journal Association. I have 20 years experience in journal publishing. Here, I would like to say more words about Society of China University Journals. The society was a non-profit, non-governmental academic society. We have 16 branches and 5 internal departments, 1,200 journal members. The society was supervised by Ministry of Education and registered in Ministry of Civil Affairs. The society, we have several, aspects to serve the whole publishing industry. One is the research programs. We have research programs from governmental and institutions, and we also have research programs for our members. And we have training programs for editors and for researchers. We also have consulting programs, both for institutions and for individual journals. And we also have a close international cooperation systems. We have close connections with international publishers, international publishing societies. Just in October, we had a very successful symposium with STM in Frankfurt. So the society is a non-profit, non-governmental society. Thank you.
And please, Dr. Liying.
Okay, so hello everyone. It's my pleasure to participate this very interesting session. I'm Liying from CUJS Library, and my library is not a traditional library, and it also plays another duties. For example, as a third-party research assessment agency, and my department, I'm responsible for the department for the research assessment and Scientometrics unit. And in the past almost 20 years, my team released a series journal ranking system, which is widely utilized in Chinese research community. For example, CUJS journal ranking and early warning journal list I'll talk about early warning journalist afterwards. And in addition, I'm also a co-editor-in-chief of an English language journal. The title is Journal of Data and Information Science. And this background led me to develop my own perspective from 3 different roles: as a researcher, as a third-party evaluation agency, and a journal editor-in-chief. Thank you.
Thank you so much for our speaker's introduction. Now, to help frame today's discussion, I'd like to begin by briefly outlining the context behind this topic and why it has become increasingly important for the global scholarly community. This session was inspired by an observation across our community that research integrity is increasingly being shaped by data products, performance systems, and commercial service. Across the world, a wide range of integrity-related tools have emerged, like retraction databases, journal early warning lists, integrity risk index, and algorithm screening systems. Their purposes are often constructive to enhance transparency, support responsible research, and help identify potential risks. However, as these integrity data and tools enter broader ecosystems, such as institutional dashboards, evaluation systems, or commercial alerting platforms, their meanings and impacts can evolve in unexpected ways. Let me give some examples. Like the retraction databases have been used by both mainstream and emerging providers to build integrity alert systems that flag retracted papers or journals. Such systems can play a useful role in editorial management, yet they can also be misunderstood or misapplied when the surrounding context is lost. Similarly, the CAS journal early warning list has sparked significant attention in China. Originally designed as an educational and preventive tool, it has sometimes been interpreted more rigidly in institutional settings, reflecting the complexity of balancing transparency with fair evaluation. These examples remind us that even well-intentioned tools for openness and learning can, when decontextualized, leading to unintended reputation or ethical challenges. Our goal today is not to criticize any particular data provider or practice, but to discuss how integrity-related data can be applied responsibly so that transparency continues to build trust, not fear or exclusion. And with that background in mind, let's now move into our panel discussion. In recent years, the rise of paper mills has, in some sense, generated a corresponding response, what we might call an expanding anti-paper mill industry. Alongside this, we've seen a rapidly growing market of integrity-related service, ranging from plagiarism detection and imaging forensics to integrity audits and consultancy. These developments have certainly stressed accountability and transparency in scholarly publishing. Yet they also bring us to a central question for today's conversation. Is research integrity itself becoming an industry? And if so, how can it develop in ways that remain ethical, responsible, and aligned with the values it seeks to protect? So for the first answer, let's play the pre-recorded by the Evan.
I agree that there has been what I have called a sort of gold rush in terms of companies, venture capital, all sorts of capital is becoming very interested in research integrity because they see the potential to earn a lot of money and to make a lot of money and to be fair, to create value. And I've been concerned about that because I think that it's looking at the wrong end of things. It's it's a Band-Aid when we have a gushing wound that we really need to staunch. I don't think paper mills are the problem. And although it is important to detect paper mill activity, to do something about paper mill papers, to try and prevent them from getting into the literature, none of these companies and no publisher is at all interested in looking way upstream at what's causing the behavior that leads to paper mill activity and the paper mill activity themselves. What's creating the market for paper mills is the more interesting question, I think. And so we really need, as many of us have said for years, to tackle the incentive problem. So I would love it if some of the money going into detection of problems in the literature or prevention of problems even in the literature looked at other models for whether it's assessing research or looking at how to provide funding. So I think that there are more specific ethical questions, though, about, who gets targeted, whether or not these tools are really capturing and catching what we want, or whether they are in fact too broad and sort of not, and only looking, there's an expression, we're always fighting last year's battles. So are they really going to sort of capture and catch what is happening now, or are they just looking in the past at preventing what we knew about a year ago in terms of the bad behavior? And I don't think that companies, for-profit companies are particularly well suited to answer those questions because they are focused on bottom lines. I think that nonprofits are in a better position, although some of them, of course, have their own, challenges and frankly, ethical issues when they become very large. So I think it's a great question. I don't have a perfect answer for it, but I do think that we really still need to focus on going upstream rather than simply on catching what is already going on.
So next, please, let us invite Tieming to share his thoughts.
Right. Thank you. We all know that open access, artificial intelligence, and research evaluation orientation are amplifying the problems of research integrity. And we know that the governance of research integrity is becoming increasingly complex nowadays. With the increasing demand of integrity governance from individuals, the researchers, publishers, institutions, and governments, the scenarios, the different services has occurred, and it is inevitable that the research integrity tools, databases will develop, and some of these tools and databases are funded by government funds, so they are free and public fair. Some are developed by commercial company or publishers. They invest money to earn money. So in my personal opinion, the integrity is becoming an industry. So that is my point of view, and we have seen that the current over commercialization of open access has created many problems and debates. So we must pay our attention on the over commercialization of research integrity itself. How can we control it? I think first, the development of these tools and databases need to be very transparent, and what the data come from, and what is the algorithms, and what is their pricing system. And second, the integrity fears and anxieties should not be created for commercial sale of these integrity tools or database. That means we must control, not let them to to, to make fears and anxieties, to let researchers or institutions to buy their products. And I think thirdly, the products and services related to research integrity are only a kind of clue or a kind of evidence. We can't simply rely on them and believe them. So we must, carefully check the results from the tools and databases and make our own decision, not by the tools and the databases. And lastly, research integrity, in my opinion, should be regulated and controlled by research community, not by the tools and the products of the commercial companies. So this is my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for Tieming's sharing. Please, Liying, Dr. Liying, to share your opinion.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Jiayi, maybe I should introduce early warning journalist earlier, but I hope now it's not too late to introduce early warning journalist shortly. So first, since you mentioned the EWL before, so I want to introduce the background for this work. So basically, in recent 10 years, as a third-party research assessment agency, we found a lot of cases about misconduct, and these cases has been frequently exposed, and also sometimes including a bunch of papers from particular journals. And at the same time, with a sharply increasement from Chinese researchers, and the issue of low-quality publications has become draw significantly attention. And however, for the vast research community, effective tools to identify and avoid such kind of problems are still lacking. So start from 2020, we released early warning journalist every year and updated. And so the number of the journalists decreased in the after we released the first year. So from the 65 to 35 and 28, 24, and until this year, our list only include 5 journals. And for the reason why we put these journals into our list, at the beginning, we have 3 types of reasons. And in recent 2 years, we only include 2 reasons, misconduct and APC prediction. And here I just shortly explained APC prediction. It means unreasonable APC. And if some participants have interest, we can discuss afterwards. So this is a shortly introduction about early warning journalist. And then let me come back quickly for your first question, my comments. So I still want to say something on our experience to release the early warning journalist. How to say, I think the growing industry of anti-academic misconduct improves the detection efficiency and transparency, but also bring risks. I agree. And for us, we also met the similar challenge. Even we are not the commercial driven, but we still met some problems and challenge. And here I want to mention one point to make the data or make the methodology and the results clearly. And the first year and the second year when we released our early warning journalist, there are a lot of argument and disagreement from international publishers. Then after start from 2022, before we released the final list, we had a preliminary list. When we send out this preliminary list to the publishers, and afterwards they will respond and they feedback why these journals and their statistics in that way. It is not they give us the evidence and explanation, and to confirm these journals are good journals. There are no problems. So after we checked, we verify this evidence. So sometimes we agree and sometimes we disagree, but this is one way for us to keep dialogue and keep the methodology and data clearly. And I still remember the year before. In 2024, almost all our journals in our list could be accepted by the publishers. So this is one way we keep this this list to can be accepted widely by the research community. That's all for my comments.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the different perspectives about the first question. This leads us to the next question. Integrity tools and data systems are increasingly embedded in research evaluation and publishing workflows. Universities look at retraction records, awarding lists. Publishers rely on screening tools, and policymakers use integrity data in reforms. These developments make integrity a shared responsibility across the ecosystem. Yet they also raise a key question. How can we ensure integrity tools and data are used constructively and interpreted appropriately across different contexts? So let's listen to the Evan's response first.
Again, I think that there's a real sort of risk of bias and sort of profiling when it comes to these tools. I think, there are some efforts to mitigate that, which is good. But what ends up happening is that you have much more detection in places where the incentive structure is much stronger, if you will, or sort of, or more corrupted. And so it stands to reason that you would find more issues and more problems in papers and in the literature coming from places where their incentive structure is just very intense and frankly even sort of worse than in the whole world, because the incentive structure in the entire world is still publish or perish, it's still citation culture, it's still rankings culture. So I think some of what we're seeing in terms of the fairness or the even-handedness of these tools is actually not really bias as much as just picking up where the activity is strongest. That being said, again, these tools they don't seem to have any interest in looking upstream. And so because it's the same organizations that are using these tools and paying for these tools, maybe even building these tools themselves, I would urge them, again, to spend some resources on going upstream and looking at what they have been doing to really encourage bad behavior. And I think it's that strong. I mean, if you look, for example, at India, right? So India has begun now, or at least the NIRF, right, which sort of helps to determine how funding is apportioned, has a ranking system, and again, so much is beholden to rankings, which I think is a big problem. But what they've started doing is they are now taking retractions into account. Now, on the surface, and I think in the short term, that's a good opportunity. It's a good measure because it means that at least we'll sort of focus attention on retractions, most of which are for misconduct. And so a university may think twice about pressuring researchers to publish more, which typically leads to more retractions and what have you, and bad behavior, particularly citation enforcement and sort of pressure and things like that. And so again, this would discount universities that have a lot of retractions from the rankings. But even in the short term, there are problems with that because some retractions are for good behavior. In other words, honest errors that we want to encourage that. But more importantly, in the mid and long term, universities will simply find a different way to game that system. They always have, they always will. And the problem is that we need to have, again, a much more robust discussion about what the ranking system itself does to the ecosystem. And I just don't see enough interest in that among governments and universities. I see some interest in that at the sort of funder level in some places. And there's some really interesting sort of projects going on about how to look at incentives, but that's pretty small and it's pretty infant, it's pretty embryonic. I think we need a much more robust discussion about this.
Thank you for the events sharing, and let's listen how is Tieming think about this.
Oh, all right. We know that so far we can see many tools and database data system for research integrity. They true can provide us lots of information, lots of helps, both for the researchers, for institutions, for publishers, like the detection system or the AI system, or a journal ranking system, or like journal list, something like that. All these tools and data system, I think first we must ensure that they are sound, credible, and they must very reliable. The database are very the data where they use must be legitimate, and the methodology of the system must be scientific and transparent. So this is from the resources. We must have a clear resources and very right metrics. So this is very important. And the use of these tools and data system, I think, should be very reasonable. We must distinguish between scenarios. For example, we all know that not all retracted papers are, ethically, questionable. Not all of them are questionable. Some are, normal retractions, not with ethical or integrity problems. And the papers published in journal, black journalists, not all the papers are necessarily the bad paper or the problem-based paper. And we know that the repetition rates of a paper, not all very high repetition rate papers are not good papers. So we have to distinguish a different scenario. This is also very important. Simply and crudely using the conclusions from research integrity tools and data system to make decision is not that reliable. So it's necessary to build a very responsible and very good decision-making process. And in my personal opinion, we must establish also the investigation, appeal, and rechecking system to avoid this injustice or harm caused by very rude use or very simply use of the tools and data systems. Yes, that's my opinion.
Thank you for sharing. Let's move to Professor Liying.
And so there are some comments on this question. So first, I would like to focus on the early warning journal list. I hope some of our participants, they have interest to know more details about the early warning journal list and my idea on this system. And so basically, the list has played an important role in providing reference for Chinese research community, because we noticed there are some journals in the past many years. We noticed some journals, they are really has a bunch of retractions relevant to misconduct. And there are still a lot of researchers, Chinese researchers, to publish in these journals, but no one can stop this trade. So this is what we can do at that moment. And step by step, some issues has emerged alongside its influence, just as you mentioned in your question. And so first we think about how to improve and how to continue the list, the positive impact. So basically, in the recent 2 years, every year when we released our list, we'll release we have a WeChat account with 2 billion followers. We'll issued an announcement stating that released list is updated, not an accumulated one. And also, from my personal perspective, I prefer positive guidance. For example, blacklist, not right list, not blacklist. So I hope in the near future we don't release the blacklist, early warning list, and transfer to another system that is open access journal index, that is right list to recommend the high selective journals to our Chinese researchers. So this is my comments on your second question. And also, in addition, I was inspiring from the Tieming's comments about the retractions, and also Ivan mentioned that point. Not all the retractions are relevant to misconduct. And my team also noticed this several years ago. So we kept a dialogue with policymakers from universities and try to explain. Not all the retractions are relevant to the misconduct. So first, we in our amended platform, we marked the retractions relevant to misconduct and unrelevant to misconduct. And also we combined our idea into our CAS journal ranking. And in this year, we updated our journal ranking version. We removed the citations from retractions only relevant to misconduct. And this is different from Web of Science. And Clarivate, they remove the citations. When they calculate the impact factor, they remove the citations from retractions, but we only remove the citations from the retractions relevant to misconduct. And also we advocate this point to our users widely. So we hope these measures can help this ranking system of the tools are not misused in China.
Thank you. Thank you for Professor Li. It's nice to hear that the CAS is trying to classify different behavior of the retractions, and we hope the policymakers, the universities, we also have the responsibility. Our publishers have the responsibility to educate them how to use the retraction history. Not all the retractions are bad. Some of them are honest error. So we cannot, as I know, some research related to the retraction index they list all the retraction, included all the retractions history to see the author whether they have bad history to publishing. But for now, we need to improve our awareness to distinguish different types of the retraction history. And now let's move to the third question. Building on this discussion, I'd like to move to our third question. As integrity becomes more data-driven, green zones are emerging between good intentions and unintended harm. Educational tools can be seen as punitive, and the open data can be used for profit. How can we keep trust, fairness, and openness while preventing integrity data from being misused or exploited? So as usual, let's begin with the Evan's comments.
Well, let me take the sort of second half of that first. I think that, and I've been seeing some interesting conversations online about open data being used by for-profit companies. And I wouldn't say I'm puzzled by it. I'm actually sort of disappointed by it because there is this sense that, open means not for profit. It means sort of mission driven. And while I'd like to believe that's true, open just means open. And I think we have to sort of understand what open actually means. For example, the Retraction Watch database became completely open about 2 years ago when Crossref acquired it, right? And so this was great for many reasons for us, certainly. Its sustainability for the database. But it means that the data are completely open, which is a big goal of ours and certainly of Crossref's. But it also means anyone can use the data. Someone could, buy 1,000 billboards in university cities and post the data on it, on these billboards. They can do whatever they want with them. They can make profit with products. It's that kind of license. We don't have any problem with that. Now, but to get to the first half of your question, people need to understand what they're actually looking at. And we've seen some terrible, terrible uses of the database. And what I mean by that is not necessarily bad intention. Most of it is quite good and well-intentioned. But there are people who don't understand what they're looking at. They don't take the time to understand it. And that's where due diligence has to play a larger role. But again, if you have a gold rush and people just clamoring and competing to create companies and then have them acquired, that's the typical model, they're not going to take the time, or at least they don't have an incentive to take the time to really understand what they're looking at. And this is true in every industry. So it's not as though this is any different. And if anything, the publishing industry, or at least the publishing services industry, many of the people in it actually have much less experience than those who are in other fields at this point because the fields are more mature. And so it really is beholden upon companies to understand what they're looking at. And they often ask us to either implicitly or explicitly endorse their products. They say, "Oh, could you please, give us a testimonial?" And we never do that for any product for lots of reasons, but it's particularly galling when they have not taken the time to understand what they're looking at, or they claim that their method is actually better when in fact they're relying on whether it's AI or some other sort of automation that has been shown time and time again to not really be able to distinguish good and bad behavior, or even to be able to distinguish retraction from for lack of retraction. So I think it's a serious problem, but it comes down to sort of basics of, do you understand what you're looking at? I would say that a lot of the tools, I mean, I understand that a lot of, funding agencies, governments sort of put them out as educational tools. With respect to those agencies and those institutions and those governments, no one uses these as educational tools, and no one has, and they aren't seen as educational tools. They are seen purely as punitive tools. We've learned this over time. And again, I just think we have to be realistic about that and also understand that, again, every organization will try and game whatever metrics come out of these allegedly educational tools, but they're actually being used to rank. They're being used sometimes to punish, and maybe sometimes to reward good behavior, but very, very rarely. And I just think we need to be much more honest about what open means. Open means anyone can use it. And, you know, there's a sort of open versus copyright. And yet some people sort of in the open space are acting surprised that the benefits of copyright, right, which a lot of them don't like. In other words, they don't like copyright because it's a block. But I think some people are starting to realize that there are benefits of copyright and of certain kinds of licenses that aren't completely open that actually provide the protection for the intellectual property or for the sort of good, safe use of the data. And that's an uncomfortable reality, but it is one that if we don't grapple with, things are not going to get better.
So thanks, Evan, sharing. Professor Tieming, could you please share in your comments?
Oh, okay. Firstly, I want to say something to, you know, the government officers or institution leaders or, you know, some sort of policy makers. Why? Because, you know, when they over empowered, you know, to these tools or integrity database or products, the overuse of them, you know, will happen. So we must, you know, control our evaluation system. These tools and database, when they are overused, they will, you know, we can't avoid the gray area will happen. Yeah, also. So if this happened, it will bring much more risks to the whole you know, society. So the policymaker, how they use the integrity tools and products is a very important. And for the data and tools we use, we must, you know, in my opinion, we have the fair principle for the data use. So we must, you know, consist the fair principle with openness, with transparency, and we must establish, you know, some, you know, how can I say that? Is the procedural justice, something like this, to avoid the risks or the challenges, especially the illegal acquisition and illegal use of the data, and commercial overuse the data to you know, to generate more products or more mechanism to, you know, to earn money. What it reminds me is that in just recent 2 years, many Chinese researchers and universities, they received, you know, warning letters from commercial companies or something like that, or illegal institutions. They criticize the papers or the institutional, you know, employees. They have illegal research conduct, or they have research integrity in their published papers. So this is the overuse and, you know, commercial overuse of the illegal use of the data, illegal acquisition of the data. So this is not good, really not good. And finally, I think we need to establish the education system, supervision system, and the guidance, even guidance system to enhance the integrity governance, and also, you know, dialogue between multiple stakeholders and discussions like today is also very important. So we need more collaboration to keep the society healthy and to make the ecology healthy. Yeah, this is our point of view, Jiayi.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Tieming. I heard similar cases around the world about some commercial companies to check the retraction history of the researchers and call the universities to ask the universities pay the money. And if the university rejected to pay the money, the some kinds of commercial companies will use their social media accounts to let everybody know.
Yeah, they are trying to threaten researchers or to stigmatize the institutions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a new phenomenon to let the publishers to know not all the behavior for the research integrity is good. Some bad things also is emergent. And now let's move to Professor Liying to share your comments.
And so first, I would like to share two numbers with our speakers and the participants. These numbers is based on the statistics from our O platform, AMAND, which is relevant to retractions collection and other misconduct cases. And we found there are significant differences between developing countries and developed countries. And they are about 90% retractions from developing countries are relevant to misconduct. And at the same time, there are 70% retractions from developed countries are relevant to misconduct. So there's significant differences, and the background, the story and the reasons why there are so huge differences between the two numbers. It's complicated, but one result I can imagine is that the researchers from developing countries, they are hurted by such kind of punishment or the tools or the such kind of platforms because of that. So it's hard for them to retract their articles only if these articles are retracted by the journals or publishers. Otherwise, sometimes for the objective mistake or other kind of problems, they will not retract. This is bad for the development of the science and technology. So here, I don't want to talk too much on this point, but my team, we always think about how to change or how to encourage our researchers to continue their research, not to avoid the harm by this kind of platform. So we think about there are some slogans. We try to so in my very recent presentations, I always mention this slogan, and so that is 3 points. The first is maintain transparency without causing harm, and second point is provide information without creating fear. And the third is promoting integrity without amplifying stigma. So that's all for my comments for your last question.
Thank you for your sharing. This is the first time I heard about the two numbers, the difference between the developing country and the developed country. And for the interpret, we need more work to find the reason why we have the different number between the developing and the developed country. And now we still have 10 minutes left. And thank you. So first of all, thank you to all our speakers for this rich and insightful discussion. We will now open the Q&A session. Please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A box. And I see one question is from Mark. Mark said, is there a way to, across publishers, systematically and clearly indicate which retractions are not related to misconduct without compromising the need for neutrality in the retraction wording? So maybe
Yeah, so if I didn't make a misunderstanding, so this question is to suggest on the journals or publishers, they should clearly indicate the retractions is relevant to misconduct or not. Is that the? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So currently, when the publisher, I think the publisher did that, especially for the international publishers. This journal, if this journal was indexed by Web of Science or Scopus or other databases, they did it. When they retractions, they marked the reason why they retracted this journal, this article.
I think Mark want to know how to find the retractions are not related to the misconduct.
And when the journal they released the notice to mark this article was rejected, they will mark the reason at the same time.
Thank you.
So I think currently, for the journal or publishers, they did that.
Yeah, and I know that in STM Integrity Hub, publishers also share their information on the integrity governance. So they share the integrity resources in the hub. So there is a coordinate, or there is a collaboration between publishers.
And I see a question, I think, is for Professor Liying. The audience asked for the early warning list. Updates are made annually. Should these be treated as additions to the previous year's list, or have the journals from prior years been cleared? I think it's a classical question.
Yes, I think you also mentioned this point, and also in my talk, I explained this point. So basically, so our list is updated one. If the journal has problems, they will appear in different years. So in that, for that is evidence. If the so our list is not an accumulated one. I'm not sure if I make it clear.
Thank you, Professor Li. I think it's really clear. And now there are new question about from Maja. Maja said, speaking from a publisher's point of view, that's not really possible for legal reasons. Retraction is not supposed to be a fall of judgment of intention, only a way to correct the literature.
Well,
I think that was a comment to previous question.
That's kind of comments, but yeah, it's true that retractions are very careful for publishers, and if they are they get their whole evidence to to judge if a paper is involved with integrity problems or not. I think they can do their best, try to to give remarks or to give some kind of label to the paper, but sometimes it's very difficult to describe or to give the label. Yeah.
And how about Professor Liying's opinion?
Oh, I don't have any additional comments on this point. I agree with Professor Tieming Zhang.
Okay, similar for the Mario. Marie said there is emergence on standardization of taxonomy of reasons for retraction. But Meja has identified the fact that labeling and article misconduct presents additional risks. And if we only have 3 minutes left, is there any questions from our audience? The Mark have a comment about previous questions. Mark said agree with Marie on this point. Certainly the reason for retraction will require careful reading of the retraction statement, and misconduct cases will be fairly clear.
Yeah, I agree with this point. The one mainly work on our amend platform is to distinguish the reasons why this article was retracted. Sometimes the website from the journal, they released the retraction notice, and also at the same time they mark the reason, but reason is not clearly. Sometimes it's too general, but we need to detect or check and determine the exact reason why this article are retracted. So this is very important.
Now we only have 1 minute left, and one audience is curious about he or she want to know a little more about extortion. We were discussing about companies using retraction data and asking for money.
Well, they just ask researchers or institutions to pay money to them, and if you don't want to pay, then they will to sue you or to let your name explode maybe, or something like that. So it's very difficult to describe. They have many solutions to make money.
Thank you. And one last question, I think is for Professor Liying. Will the early warning list create perverse incentives for publishers to not issue retractions for fear or for appearing on the list?
Sorry, let me confirm this question.
Yeah, will the early warning list create perverse incentives for publishers to not issue retractions for fear for appearing on the list?
Oh, okay, I understand. This is a challenge question. For the early warning journal list, we reference not only based on retraction statistics, but we also collect the data from Academy social media. So if this for example, the articles didn't are not be retracted, but when the social media, there are a lot of researchers, they confirm, they discussed, and or they have a serious concern on a bunch of articles from one journal. They may also take this factor into account.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers for their thoughtful contributions, and to all participants for your engagement and excellent questions. This concludes today's session. On behalf of COPE and the Society of China University Journals, thank you for joining us. We wish you a wonderful day or evening wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Bye-bye.